Hello students, today I wanted to show you a little bit about how you look at nets for 3D objects. So in front of you here we have a cube. This cube you can actually rotate it and we can look around the cube. And as we know and have explored already, a cube has 6 faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we can refer to a cube, we want to talk about a front view, and then we can look at the right side, the left side, the top, the bottom, and then we can go all the way around to the back as well if we want. So cubes have 6 sides, which means we have 6 different views, and we've looked at how to draw 4 of those views. Now we're going on to look at a net. Think of a net as a 3D shape that's been laid flat. So if we take the net of this cube, we can take our cube, lay it flat, and all 6 sides are represented. So here we have the bottom, we have the 2 sides, this would fold over to be the top, and then we have 2 sides. So depending on how we orient our cube, we can actually have, we can say one side is the top, the bottom, the left, or right. So we say for a cube, the number of faces, the number of squares here is 6. The number of edges is how many of these parts all go together. So if we put this back into a solid, this is considered an edge. Where 2 faces meet is called an edge, and a vertice is where the different 3 edges meet. So if we look at the total, we have a different number of edges, vertices, and faces within a cube. We can also look at this transparently, and you can count them a little easier that way. And we also have shaded, so we can shade them so they look at different colors. So this website, you can see the link to it up here. I'll put that link in Google Classroom as well. We can also look at some other shapes. So for example, a tetrahedron. Tetra means 4. So a tetrahedron is actually what some people would know as a 4-sided die. Some of you looked at these a bit last year. And it has 4 sides. If we get rid of the shaded and get rid of the transparent and rotate this around, you can see it's basically a triangle in 2 dimensions, and then we have lines going up to a fixed point. It's not quite the same as a pyramid. A pyramid is 4 sides for a base, so it would have a square or a rectangular base. This has a triangular base. If we click on a net, it's going to unfold. And can you guess what those are going to look like when that unfolds? If you said triangles, you were correct. And with a tetrahedron, we have 4 triangles. Those triangles will rearrange themselves into a parallelogram. Now that parallelogram could be organized in a different way, but that's certainly one way to look at it. Over here, we can color the various shapes, the various sides. So if we wanted to call this one the bottom, and now we wanted to look at it as a solid, we could rotate it so the bottom is on the bottom. So we have lots of chances to play around with these shapes. We can look at other shapes, for example, an octahedron, which is 2 tetrahedrons that are put together. Octa means 8, 8 sides. And we can also look at a dodecahedron. Some of you, if you look over your head, you will recognize this. Now, can you picture that folding out? So if we go to a net, picture those sides going out. Hopefully you can picture each side is going to be a pentagon. And because it's a dodecahedron, there are 12 sides. You could color these sides. So for example, we could color, try to guess which sides are going to be opposite and color them with different colors. And then when we put it back together into a solid, did we get it quite right? Not quite. Okay, so you can play around with that. If you want to have a look over here, you can see the number of faces is 12. I've colored 4 out of 12. The edges are 30, so there are 30 lines, and those lines come together at 20 points. We can also zoom in with this. So I'm going to put the link to this on Google Classroom. You should have a pretty good idea of how these shapes look now. There is more than one way to unfold a shape. For example, our cube here it's unfolded this way, but we could also take this piece here, the red piece, and we could actually move that red piece. Whoops, that's not going to work. We could take the red piece and we could move it over to this side and it would still fold into a cube. So there are a number of different ways of arranging a cube, and that's one of the things you're going to explore in this section. So would it still be a cube, for example, if we took this red side and we put this red side, we moved it so it was over here, would it still make a cube? So have a look. You can play around with this a bit. There's also some stuff to read in your text, but give a try to section 2.2. See how you make out with those problems. Don't be scared to actually draw things and actually hold them and touch them. It does make it easier if you have it in front of you. There are some shapes as well around the room that you may want to look at when you're trying to unfold them, and there are some boxes there too for rectangular prisms. Thank you very much and have a great day.